Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Summer 2019, where we are 1-0 up for SANDBOX Gaming, and that gentleman on your screen picked up the MVP for stealing an Infernal Drake with a final spark against our 4 people in a Dragon Pit.
But a very bizarre game one.
Super weird.
It almost felt like Auto League, you know, the auto chess style. It kind of felt like things just kind of happen on autopilot, and then there was a bit of action at the end.
And I also think that like a lot of champions were positioned incorrectly in a lot of the starting fight. And I mean, I know the game has only just come out. We don't necessarily know how to position right now, but SANDBOX figured it out. They moved their carry to the back of the squad.
Yeah, positioning got better.
Yeah, positioning certainly did get better. And that gentleman on your screen right there didn't find one of the pivotal crescendos, and that could have been one of the nails in the coffin. But honestly, it felt like one team throwing the ball back to the other one and then having that one thrown right back again.
But it was surprisingly placid in the early game, when usually it's the Sona comp like cowering in fear and the enemy trying to grab what they can and be super aggressive. So I think from SANDBOX's side, they pick up the victory, but for a lot of our indicators, given the SANDBOX is 5-1 and trying to push Griffin at the top, we were very disappointed with how SANDBOX played out game one. I wonder what the coaching staff, I would love to have been, you know, a fly on the wall for the conversations that were happening. I want to see SANDBOX smash and grab rather than being much more defensive like they were in game number 1.
Well, Karma is actually going to be banned on GenG's side.
It's
so
the red side.
That one.
Remember, red side Karma, Sejuani, and Yuumi has become pretty popular, so something's going to give, most likely. Now, with the Yuumi opted into on blue side, there's a chance he just bans Sejuani, so there was a chance for SANDBOX to blink, but it seems like their Yuumi first pick priority is lower, and they seem to want to go down the Tahm Kench route. For some reason, we're not banning Sona, and we're allowing for these mind games, and CuVee said, crap, my champion pool.
Well, I mean, he still has Gangplank. Don't worry, Pub Smithy. It's all fine there. We could actually just lock in the Azir and the Lux if GenG want to, and then do exactly the same thing that SANDBOX did in game number 1.
But the intriguing thing is, if he doesn't first round Gangplank, you can actually get into awkward spots. So it's good that they went here and went with an 80 carry first round, but the cost of taking Gangplank is that you will lose out on a priority support. That's the reality. They only have 1 pick after this first round. Prized away Kuzan's Azir. He's looked very good on this pick.
Yes.
And the Sivir's here, so Lux is the most likely thing you'd take on Kuzan's pick, but if they don't take GP, they lose it. If they don't take Lux, it's a possibility that it's the old Sivir lanes where you just lose the 2v2. So there is a trade-off here for GenG to consider.
Well, Corki is going to be the pick into Kuzan's Azir this time around. We've seen this be very popular in patches gone by, and has been an age-old matchup in the mid lane.
Showmaker pop off on it, right? Just a few days ago.
Yeah, true.
In this particular matchup, so just wants to farm alongside Azir, and it's GenG, so farming is likely. Don't hate the pick for Dove in this particular game. Wanted to shout out Dove a little bit.
Wow, J4.
As the Jarvan is taken first round, no marksman here, very suspicious.
And no Sona either.
That was second round pick in the first game.
Yeah,
which,
I know. But you'd expect that it might actually get a look in this time.
So Dove, before this series started, had played 12 unique champions in 15 games. So he played by far the most champions of any mid laner with a 5.6 KDA, which is really high for playing everything. Just shows that he's a generalist, a really good look for a mid laner who felt a bit pigeonholed in spring season. He kind of was the second best player of Akali on the team, second best player of some of the flex champions. Now, kind of popping off in different roles, and we've seen in the listen-ins and the few times he got translations, he's a huge character, does impressions and things, so I think he's really good for the morale, but his gameplay is backing that stuff up as well.
Well, the Sona is going to be banned here, guys, so GenG aren't going to let that one through. The Braum was locked in, though. Back to a favorite for life, but have been seeing this guy take a bit of a back seat in the support position.
They're sacking the Lux Sivir duo for laning phase free turret plates Chase style and going for Braum for teamfight, which against Corki in the late game you'd understand, but kind of feels like a very GenG choice. It's a very old school choice to not just take Lux in the spot they were in.
A bit of an anti-Tahm Kench choice as well for life and Ruler down there. So Draven also going to be banned away, a Ghost special, but just wanting to get themselves through this lane as effectively as possible. Ghost can go back towards something like a Kalista here, Lucian still available, lots of different choices. But see what he decides to pair up
Varus
with the Tahm
is
Kench.
the very likely choice for Ghost because the Tahm Kench is already there, assuming Tahm Kench isn't CuVee style in the top lane.
Well, Sonic could of course play it if he wants to. Olaf going to be banned against Peanut here, and we're getting pretty low in the jungle pool, but still has Lee Sin, Elise, lots of different choices.
some of those picks haven't been working for him this season. His Lee Sin has been very, very poor, even though Lee Sin quality of the LCK has been high. The Lee Sin makes the most sense because it straddles the line, but given his recent performance, it's one that he's going to have to act up on. So we'll see if the recent victories for GenG in previous series can buoy the win rate. SANDBOX flashing picks, and Ghost has definitely played Twitch in the past. His professional debut was on Twitch, but unlikely to see it here. Be hype if we did, though.
Yeah, 8 seconds to go.
Varus is the boring choice, sadly.
And also the choice that does make a lot of sense paired with the Tahm Kench. Certainly has been a favorite lane so far in Summer.
So what's Summit playing? Jace's normal go-to, banned out way earlier. Doesn't know the top lane matchup. You know what CuVee can play, though, so it feels like you know his effective range better than most top laners.
Aatrox is a pretty no-brainer choice, especially for Summit.
And you got to blind something here, so unless you really want to go 1-3-1, you want to blind Fiora and be like, haha, now you can't Aatrox, I think it makes a lot of sense to go down the route of the Aatrox themselves.
We could go straight into the Gangplank one more time.
We've seen that be a decent Weather the Storm matchup.
Yeah,
so
I don't see why
there's
not.
no reason for them not to. Now, the cool thing about choosing it here is that Braum now can, with the Cannon Barrage, try to make something happen. So maybe there is an aggressive side to what is usually a farming lane for Sivir Braum. I know it's not going to inspire anyone's kind of perspective. It's just one of these games where GenG picks a lot of scaling and a Lee Sin. And very often, the Lee Sin ends up not being able to do anything, because who the hell do you gank when all your lanes are likely to be at best in an even position? It's kind of tricky to do too much as Peanut in this game unless you're relentlessly aggressive in enemy jungle.
Well, if he can land some flash kicks in the mid lane, there is some shenanigans with an Emperor's Divide to throw someone underneath a turret. They wait until Dove doesn't have flash and the Valkyrie, and that could be an opportunity there, but still, like I had to list, there are a lot of different tools that can be used for safety. And maybe Summit is going to be the target. Maybe this is a game where you try and get CuVee into a decent laning state against the Aatrox.
And maybe we get to talk about non-League of Legends matters. It's
no,
possible.
No, this is the best thing about Teamfight Tactics coming out, Papa Smithy, because we can talk about it and it's still League of Legends.
I would say it's League of Legends adjacent.
Yeah.
Which is
still
good
the same characters.
Because we're always fiercely on topic, so we need.
Oh, that's what I mean.
caveat.
That's what I mean. Now we're allowed definitely to talk about Teamfight Tactics if we need to mix things up, because before we certainly did keep it all about the game.
I mean, Riot warns us almost every broadcast. They're really breathing down our necks.
Yeah, they're like, stop talking about League of Legends.
And
Start
Pokemon.
talking about
and
other
Nintendo
stuff.
And everything else we talk
and
about.
meteorology, which is Papa's new favorite.
That's true. That's their least favorite.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
Please stop talking about meteorology. We're inside. It's irrelevant. Our air conditioning is just fine, Papa Smithy. Keep it to yourself. Let's hear from the fans. Whoa, the GenG explosion as they are staring down the barrel of a 0-2 against SANDBOX here, as we had another pigeon opportunity but didn't have it work out.
The bird is the word, though. Is what I saw from that opening graphic. Azir every game, kind of been the LCK way recently. Was on the winning side. Game number 1, SANDBOX on red side. So red side, Azir first round, more and more common.
I am liking this GenG composition, though. It's looking very, very much like a 1-1 out of the gate when it comes to the draft, in my personal opinion. I'm just looking down the line and feeling like they do have a lot of what they would have wanted. However, I'm glad that you brought up the Peanut problem, because the Lee Sin has certainly been a pick that he hasn't been able to make as many inroads on as he used to in the past.
I mean, if you remember back, he had pretty legendary games on the Lee Sin, none more so than when I was over in Brazil. If you remember, he was legendary at like 9 minutes in that matchup. Has definitely had pop-off performances on Lee Sin, and was just, I believe, undefeated in 2016. I believe he was undefeated on the Rocks Tigers on the Lee Sin. And then Italy, I think, that year. Regardless, big win rates on both. Always been a reliable one for him since that phase onwards, but more recently, been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of a bygone era. It's depressing to talk about, as Ghost and Joker just trying to juke it out here with Ruler in life. Counting some minions, as it looks like the SANDBOX bottom lane do have priority at the moment.
Gotta say, a lot of our legends definitely having a bit of a mare of a time this season so far.
Yeah.
SKT KT has some of the most significant Korean pro gamers in League of Legends history, but right now that's a bottom of the table clash. We'll have that tomorrow.
It's almost like Expendables versus Expendables 2, Papa Smithy. It's a very strange one.
But always hoping for brighter times for some of our veterans. Zooming into this game, though, GenG really confident on their scaling. Sivir, Azir, Gangplank, all of them spike. As the game goes on, although Azir kind of cheats and has a really strong one-item spike, regardless of whether it goes Nashor's or into more of a burst build, like we've seen a little bit more recently. And while Corki gets into a good spot against Azir and Aatrox can do some things against GP, the actual natural laning phases much earlier aren't as comfortable for the Azir and GP. So there definitely will be a point where like lull 3 losing lanes, but right now it's actually pretty comfortable outside of bot lane, being pretty Varus Tahm Kench favor.
Yeah. I do want to talk about this top lane though, because I think it is going to be pretty important to look at those nameplates like you do like to indicate, Papa, because the Aatrox is a different beast when it's piloted by Summit. He's probably one of our best Aatrox players in the entire league and has been for a very long time, as Ruler with a nice spell shield bottom side of the map denies any aggression, as junglers are going to face. You know, looking for this Q onto OnFleek and will land it. Vision shield does come down as it's OnFleek that gets the Rift Scuttler. There's the safeguard just to stay in range, and Joker is going to come on over.
Leeson trying to play on his weak side. No way for Ruler and Life to impact the lane control. The reason why Lux is preferred with Sivir is that she can poke as a range champion, but also can help shove a lot more than a Braum. So you don't actually get to have a lot of say about where the laning phase is. So you can push up and go and help with the Scuttle more reliably. You can control for the early game. But late game, tank supports have a very important role to play. So they have sacked a bit of lane control. That's why Leeson was being a bit cheeky, given that it was a weaker side when it comes to the 2v2 that he was jungling around. No steal available.
Well, Summit's got a lot of minions available, as you can see. Back's going to come in from CuVee just to get himself some more items to try and deal with this lane as best he can, but only has access to a Sapphire Crystal and a recharge on his Corrupting Potion.
Leeson last seen bot side. SANDBOX showing a lot of respect in this area now that Jarvan's going for top Scuttle, so smart of them to not be trying to impact a minion wave. Does allow Ruler to catch up. He's about 3 CS behind. After this wave, it's all cleaned up. Summit gets down some deep wards. While GP can just kind of poke and be okay against Aatrox, Aatrox can also, with Jarvan, be a pretty formidable turret dive duo. So we'll see if that's on the recipe in the foreseeable future.
Well, at the moment, OnFleek is on the top side of the map. But right now, there's wolves to be killed, Papa Smithy.
I like that you could also just talk about weather in the kind of like tone of phrase you were doing, and it would have fit one to one. There's a southerly breeze, or I guess a northerly breeze going on.
I'm thinking that can be my retirement option.
Really? You were thinking weather?
Yeah, going potential weather.
I thought we had the cricket commentary thing in the bag.
Oh, that's retirement after all commentary.
Oh.
So it's a multi-step process.
Okay.
You're
really weaning yourself off of your vocation, aren't you?
Yeah. And maybe I'll just die before that, you know. Maybe I'll be one of those people that just never retires.
Well, I don't pray for your death, but I do pray for more death in this particular series.
Yep. Well, CuVee getting close to it. Gets full combos.
Imminent death.
Yeah, he's looking to come down here. That's a decent knock-up. Good flash there from Ruler, though, and did use the spell shield very nicely, but that's successful gank. Coming in from SANDBOX, starting off the aggression early.
Exactly. Like, love to see it. There was just so high value EQ that something had to give. 2 summoners blown from that roam. Nicely done. And the first real proactive gank we've had all series, so appreciate it.
I like that Life didn't use his flash to get out of the way as well and just used the stand beside me after Ruler had flashed out. However, still, getting that flash out of the Sivir means that GenG won't have the kind of control that they may have been looking for. Wave going to equalize, Back's going to come in, teleport there for Ruler, but Ghost also has his. As Bilgewater Cutlass is what he's decided to go for. Ghost starting with a shield instead of the Doran's Blade. Ruler's side, pickaxe and a longsword were collected. Double control word as well for the Sivir.
What sport do you think has the greatest degree of difficulty to commentate? Because I think there's 2 schools of thought. There's kind of simple mechanical sports where how do you like get more out of it? Like maybe you have to be super intrinsically linked to it to actually add value to what's happening. Like boxing, for example.
Yeah.
Like 2 people are punching each other. Everyone can see that. How do you make it captivating? Or there's, you know, League of Legends and other sports where a lot of things are always happening, where the camera can never catch everything. And how do you actually make that personal? Kind of an interesting question to wrestle with.
Yeah, and then there's also like incredibly difficult things that are hard to comprehend, the right maneuvers as well, things like that.
Can we comprehend this Infernal Drake fight?
We'll have to find out. Teleport coming in, Life having to flash very early, and now Ruler is in trouble. That knock-up was stunning from Summit, who will just dive on top, calculates the timing of that spell shield very, very nicely, and we'll get that last hit of the queue. Does use all of his summoners, but that's going to mean another Infernal Drake, the 4th of the series here for SANDBOX, if you're counting. Great start to this game.
Exactly. Pre-10-minute kill, pre-10-minute Infernal. SANDBOX Gaming feeling great about this pickup. And I watched the replay on how I saw. Now, GenG tried to take advantage of back-timers, but TP back in from Ghost meant that he was in position for this. Kuzan not able to catch the Corki. Ruler thinks he's out, but the range there, just bigger than I could have comprehended on the Q. He just about clipped him. And remember, that's one of them sweet spots.
Yeah, that was a real sweet spot from Summit. Amazing accuracy. GenG are going to tidy things up, though, collecting this minion wave underneath the turret. If we have a look at turret plates, none of them have gone down so far, 8 minutes into this game. The items are going to get better and better here for SANDBOX as they have won that first fight. The gold is approaching that 1,000 gold mark, and with an Infernal in their back pocket, this could be a SANDBOX that can accelerate. I mean, you're looking at probably two of the best users of Infernal Drake as well in Varus and the Corki, both of them double scaling.
Summit is on Epic, what they know that Peanut was on this camp.
Yeah, looking for it. Didn't have Flash, remember, on the side of the Aatrox, but Safeguard is going to get Peanut out of there, and I believe he managed to take down his whole camp as well.
Damn, that was a Jaws moment, though. Loved the repeating death that was coming there, but nothing to be found. We'll be able to escape away. Peanut's trying to farm up, and sadly, this is kind of the Peanut Lee Sin game we were kind of anticipating. It almost got to the point coming into MSI, and I guess I've said this on cast before, where it really felt like Lee Sin was watching LCK only, a level 6 jungler. Like, just couldn't do anything pre-6, and then we saw Ning smiting ranged minions to hit Qs on Cinders and turret diving, and you're reminded that the champion can be so much more, but when your fallback is always to farm rather than to fight, it does feel like a trap champion for GenG.
Well, CuVee going to try and get back into a winning scenario here on the top side. OnFleek sneaking his way in to try and deny the GP.
If you're wondering why other level 6 junglers actually fit GenG better, it's they can initiate more reliably than at least in Sejuani, these other champions that can press R and things start happening. And I was trying to find trends in GenG's wins, and it was high crowd control and agency champions. The moment they get a bit more like this, games get a bit harder, it can get tricky.
Wow, OnFleek going to stop that back. As you can see, Summit still looking for more. The Darkened Blade actually getting a lot of work done here. On to CuVee. CuVee just looking tanky. There's going to be the knock-up, though, and there's the dive-in from Summit. All too easy with the passive proc. And CuVee dies with Flash Up.
I mean, to be fair, OnFleek, at the perfect time where Summit gave no indications jungles, he was literally leaving lane to put down a ward.
Yeah.
And Summit, Cinderhulk Jarvan knows his damage output, picks up the kill. They sucked in CuVee, but they did it really impressively.
And the range calculation from Summit as well in the turn back for Umbral Dash Q perfect sweet spot knockup. Like, that was some amazing stuff there from the jungler and top laner from SANDBOX.
I mean, we've said sweet spot a lot this broadcast, but it feels oh so good to say.
I mean, Aatrox has got 3 of them on one
Summit
ability.
is giving literally no indication that his jungler is top. I'm always very impressed by it, because that's the intangible where you're just a smarter player, not better at pressing your buttons.
Yeah, that's the big brain rather than the fast fingers. Joker and Dove hanging out as Joker's going to leave Varus to his own devices. You can see bottom side of the map is not where they really want to be, as they're looking to make a play onto Shelly. 11 minutes in would make sense.
They already got CuVee killed. Now he's back with everything, so at least he doesn't have summoners down. You can definitely understand they have first rotation from bot lane. They're able to get the Herald first, and thus they do have wide control of the objective. Do remember the Tahm Kench ult nerf at level 1 means that you have to be pretty close to be able to Abyssal Voyage in. So for now, they are out of position for that objective. Yep. But will it just be GenG seeding objectives? Seems very likely, but Peanut for now is going to consider his options.
He's going to come on over, but you can see the Azir on the wrong side of the lane, and CuVee is going to be heading back.
It seems
Shelly's going to releash.
It seems like SANDBOX noted the Mountain Drake spawning in less than a minute and said, oh, well, we could get that, definitely. Or we could invest everyone to get the Rift Herald, probably. And it seems like they're just going to fall back for the fallback Mountain Drake, given this pretty high value in how they want to play this game. At some point, they got 280 carries and a tank Jarvan, so Baron threat pretty immense with a Mountain Drake.
Yes, very true. Split push style as well with Summit in the side lane could theoretically be an option also. Black Cleaver almost done here for Summit. Just wants to get towards his next CDR item after that, and that first item spike is going to be there for the Aatrox. He's already taken a couple of turret plates, and we'll just make that one. Sorry, that is his second. Just goes down. Told a lie.
You know what one of Riot's best things they do in League that people never talk about?
What's that?
Some of the sound effects are just so
the
on point.
satisfying
The most
sounds?
famous one for the first 5 years of the game was the Jax thwomp, right, of his third hit. Like, that's always like, oh, music serious.
No, do you know what the best one was?
The turret plate one is up.
Yeah, it does feel very, very nice to hit that turret. Almost feels as good as TPA Mundo landing his trophies.
Oh, yes, okay.
That is the best sound in any video game, in my opinion.
The thwomp still wins in my book. I think Jax is the winner, but damn, the turret plate one. Oh.
You're a thwomp, I'm the gonk.
You know what's the other new one that's Pog?
Oh, yeah?
Aurelia getting all the last hits.
Oh, that's true, that's true.
It's just beautiful.
There's a lot of satisfaction when it comes to the sounds. I think that was actually one of the first things that people liked about Teamfight Tactics as well, is that a lot of that sound
TP's coming in deep here. They're actually trying to catch Joker and Ghost.
Yep, On the Hunt does come down. This is the gank potential that they have available to them. The bounce house is in all too easy from GenG. They were capable of this in game number 1 and never did it. But this time around, they're able to land it. CuVee doesn't have his ult now, top side of the map, but who cares? He's got 2 assists.
That was some beautiful sweeping from Kuzan. He makes the play just like he was trying to on the LeBlanc in game number 1 and takes out the trash, it felt like, with that sweep. Sweeps him straight into the turret, and the gleeful hands of Ruler. Really nicely done, and it punishes the Varus Tahm Kench push potential and the safety implied by the Tahm Kench.
Yep, no flash option there
Watch
either.
the sweep here. Oh, just taking out the trash. Beautiful stuff from Kuzan.
And Joker just had no time to effectively devour, because what, he devours and then the Varus just comes with him? It's just, it's not exactly what you want to be seeing here, but SANDBOX with that play on the bottom side of the map now used for GenG, they will be able to take down Shelly.
You show a replay of that to your mom and she says, that's a chore well done.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to do it right, says GenG. And to be fair, they don't do that much, so.
Yeah, that is certainly a Sunday where you're making your mum proud. CuVee's got himself some barrels set up here on the top side, and there are no more turret plates, so at least he's denied Summit from smacking down his turrets too much, as you saw. Not exactly the most damage done in this early game. SANDBOX had a bit of an advantage in.
Oh, the Birdman's coming back.
He's looking for more. Damn. Cute little ward down there from SANDBOX, though, as Summit is still being very aggressive. OnFleek will turn up, but Control Ward is going to give away his position. And yet, he may not actually be too worried about this one. Minions are going to be going down, but a fresh wave is going to turn up.
Peanut's bottom side, they know this. They're going for it.
Yep, they're looking for it. Worldender has been popped as Summit just holds on to the aggro, and that was too easy. CuVee did invest the flash, but without the cannon barrage, he wasn't outplaying that one.
Very much knowing Peanut's bot side means ease for SANDBOX to make this play is 100% information, so they know it can't be counter ganked. They know that they can just go and take the right aggro and get the kill, and it's just one of those high positive plays from SANDBOX, and unfortunately the answering play from GenG is nothing.
Yep, the percentage play from SANDBOX most definitely, and this is what GenG have ran into as issues, especially in spring season, was having people make proactive plays against them and then just not really doing anything as a response.
Well, what did League of Legends evolve into? Okay, you got something, but what are you going to take as a loss on the other side of the map? And it's always, oh, you got a kill, but what objective did you get? Getting one kill no longer was enough. But unfortunately, GenG do end up giving things and trying to defend for future things. And if you just take all the turret plates and all the other objectives that now exist as a counterpoint, then often you get huge gold leads, which could just be the way for SANDBOX. They're jamming the Rift Herald, but do notice the timer. It is 16:25.
Yeah, of course. So not going to be getting any plates with this one, but Shelly will get a charge off onto this outer turret and could get some more pressure down here for SANDBOX.
Oh, if you take the mid lane outer turret, so big for map control on that Baron play with the Mountain Infernal we talked about, Atlas.
Yep, not to mention the fact that Dove can augment this push very effectively. I mean, if another minion wave heads towards this turret, he's got Trinity Force. He can smack that one down very, very quickly. So that is a to be continued that SANDBOX have left there in the mid lane. Ghost setting up. OnFleek is here now to try and protect. And he's going to see whether they go for one of those plays yet again.
He's backing up his bot lane. Remember, in this similar spot, this is where Kuzan came through and flew through and got the double. So, yep, OnFleek just in counter gang territory. They have no deep wards and no idea on where Lee Sin is. Now, they probably know that all of Lee Sin's camps are down, so bot side play is very likely. SANDBOX just want to get what seems to be owed to them, which is another objective bot side to be the Mountain Drake and the bot lane outer turret. And then we're talking double Mountain Infernal and the Atlas color special, those quirky power spikes. First couple are in, the next one on the way.
Yep, this is a huge one in the Soft Boots Trinity Force. That's the big first one, but then it just keeps coming in thick and fast. Papa Smithy, get an Infinity Edge, get a Rapid Fire Cannon, all of it. Every completion is feeling good.
And in these games where Lee Sin is red, the answering play for him is so much harder than for Sejuani. Because if Lee Sin shows up second and someone's taking up most of their health bar, can't really do anything. The turret guys are a lot more situational based on flashes being up and down, respectively. TP's coming in defensively here. SANDBOX definitely not giving up a Mountain Drake without a fight.
Yeah, it's Summit getting down here as quickly as he possibly can. He can World Ender to start this one off. This is a 3-0-0 Aatrox that just really wants to spread his power around. You can see they are throwing their weight into this one. Infernal Chains lands, but Shifting Sands is going to be there for Kuzan to get himself to safety. But GenG is split. Can the Pigeon Man swoop in and create magic here on the side of GenG as Dove is pressuring them by activating... Oh, sorry, it's going to be taking down a Sun turret, so not exactly going to be getting super high value. They already managed to take down that outer turret, but he's still pushing forward, and the Aatrox is actually there to help out.
They're on in a turret.
They're thinking about trying to have their cake and eating it too, but the Emperor's Divide does absolutely nothing. Cataclysm is there, but it's just going to create space. Peanut gets the kick, but the Devour timing was too good from Joker. They're still looking for the inner turret, and the Gangplank went back to try and deny. Mountain Drake's going to go back into the pit, and SANDBOX is just going to be able to start this one up again.
It's been some sweet science by SANDBOX, on point in so many different ways on the map and in the micro interactions. They get Kuzan, they get out, they push up mid lane. Suddenly, they've just had their lunch. You know, they've just absolutely eaten GenG's lunch, and all Ruler can do is push out a turret and bot lane and back off. So we watched the replay here, and it's very crisp from SANDBOX. The moment GenG realizes only 3, Kuzan looks, gets the flash, but I love the re-engage timing from OnFleek, and then you're watching for Peanut, goes for the kick flash and devoured out of the air. Now that is a Tom Kench can get behind.
Yeah, that's some old man mechanics that I'm all about as well, Papa Smithy. This is called supporting your local mechanic, you know, the old guy that just knows your own
the
car
town mechanic.
In and out. Yep, yeah. That's what I'm all about. Definitely pay him another visit. Don't go to one of these new fandangle mechanics.
Let me tell you something about Joker. You might see the Tom Kench think, okay, you know, he's fallen back in tank supports like other players whose mechanics might have escaped them. An older player had some mechanical misfires in spring. I thought his pike was pretty good. I thought a lot of his mechanical plays have leveled up in summer, and we know he's a big reason that their shot calling is so strong. So at some point, he's just one of our best supports.
Yeah. Remember, he was the support that had like a 3-champion champool, right?
Yeah.
In the Galio, Shen, and Tom Kench. Yeah. That was his spring, almost entirely, and now really has jumped out of that.
And what do all those 3 champions do? They allow you to use your superior knowledge of the game to be in the right position first.
Yes.
They can make plays happen, but realistically, he was much more known for his map play and the ability to fill a 1-3-1 with Dove, Zakali, and a side lane big champion coming through from Summit to find advantages, but he's actually getting those more selfish picks rolling, so big compliments to Joker.
Enjoying it.
And Summit, 3 kills and also a healthy CS lead. He's having a bit of a buffet in the 1v1.
That was a high-value phosphorus bomb, everyone. As Dove is going to know that there are 3 members towards the top side, not going to check more. And cleans out the mini wave very easily. That is a lot of GenG's resources now just doing nothing on this map.
Yeah, the control wards allow them red side control, but SANDBOX aren't threatening Baron just yet, so this means that Peanut and Life are running kind of unseen between top and bot, but they get there and it's like, well, what now? And again, very unlikely setups around a Corki with Flash Up. Best of luck catching him.
Yeah.
And Summit can just continue the 1v1 pain. Now, he can't really kill this turret without help, just because GP has a lot of wave clear at this point. A lot of happy feeding from GenG between the lanes. They're not gaining anything, but they're definitely racking up the miles. They're running around that big oval, but unfortunately they're not impacting the play.
Yeah, they're doing the laps, but it's not time for drills. We're actually in the main game. Maybe that's how it's sort of working. 4,000 gold is going to be what that spells in the advantage of SANDBOX, as Summit's going to extend that even further. About 5,000 heading into 22 minutes is a great news story if you're a SANDBOX fan, and look at their line of control wards. Just creating the breadcrumbs towards the Baron pit, which is exactly what they want to be fighting for. GenG do have that red side access to the pit with their cheeky little control ward over the back, but this Baron can go down extraordinarily quickly. SANDBOX have not only incredible champions for doing consistent damage, but also double Mountain Drake. This is like two-man potential and then some with almost any two champions, not including Tahm Kench, that they have.
And let's say they don't play the map ideally and it ends up being a 5v5. Look at the item disparity between two team-fighting top laners.
Oh no, Aatrox
has a boatload of items,
yeah.
and GP has the sad man's Trinity Force Executioner's Calling. Like, this Aatrox is primed for a pentakill.
Yeah. He is ready. And also, he's already got all of the kills for his team so far, or at least most of them. As GenG, they have no right just walking up to this river, even with a couple of members in the mid lane, because Joker can turn up in the nick of time with his Abyssal Voyage. He's still looking for rank 2 on that one. As, yeah, okay, someone's going to turn up.
Can't go in disconnected, remember. This is not fed old Aatrox where you just do it with your face and start everything off. He has
Dove
to be a
has
bit
the
more
package.
situational.
That's the thing. That's why they're looking to try and force right now. As he saw, he uses it to try and get himself back into this mid lane, and that's because it was running out. So a little bit of a missed opportunity there for SANDBOX, but GenG playing around the SANDBOX resources very nicely as OnFleek flags and drags, gets himself out of the way, but does at least lose half of his health bar.
Forcing down one lane right now. They're not using Aatrox in the bot side, so relieved a bit of pressure from GenG. That gets them to be able to regroup, and it's frustrating. This is a turret siege around a temporary turret. That's the annoying thing Azir can do.
Yeah.
Allows you to cheat macro a little bit. GenG can walk up in a scenario they wouldn't be able to if there's any other champion on the Rift. But SANDBOX are feeling frisky.
Yep, there's going to be the Chains of Corruption going down. Ruler does break them as we're going to get the flag and drag. OnFleek dives into the front line. They're trying to escape, but they're all clumped up. Perfect for Summit, but he's down very, very low. Another Emperor's Divide flashed from Joker, and he eats some Grey Health to try and keep him alive. The Sand Soldiers and Ruler are able to take down the Catfish, but that is going to be the 1-for-1, and they still have so much damage available. Low health bars on both sides. But I'd still say it's a relatively even trade, support for support.
Bit of a trip up in execution for the first time this game from SANDBOX, playing the mid lane ARAM play rather than
CuVee.
Oh boy!
Yep, Dove just gets the Valkyrie, gets in there. Ruler now has to be careful as well. You have to, respect this Corki from the mid lane. You've only got one spell shield. You're going to need about 7 in a very, very quick series of time.
And there's nothing toothless. There's no Corgi here. This is just Earth on a warpath in the mid lane before
he got all the spatulas in Teamfight Tactics Pub Smithy.
He absolutely did, and that makes him a pretty happy man. Dove walks up, steals an Infernal Drake. SANDBOX very lazy in how they played the map because the Sun turret was frustrating them. They needed that down to make the play where they grouped in mid lane and fell back to an Infernal. But they get the kill on the end. They get the Infernal as well, so they still get everything.
Yeah, can I talk about some item spikes here, though, Papa Smithy? Because there's a whole bunch of them. We've got the Guardian Angel now completed. An extra BF sword here for Dove on top of the first 2 items that he has done as well. This is a gigantic Corki. Not to mention, Ghost is doing a lot of AoE damage right now.
Can we please give some balanced analysis? Don't forget, Joram's Fist picked up for GP, so he's rolling as well.
Oh, that's true. Sick Joram's. No, he's still scaling. Still got to stack up that HP.
Give me that HP. Ooh. Give me that free Ruby Crystal.
Get into a side lane, CuVee. What are you doing? Ruler's not going to let you have any of this farm. You got to stack that Joram's Fist.
At least Riot's trying to make this game spicy. And like, let's make it double, and triple Infernal games.
Yeah. And that's a pretty high roll for SANDBOX here as CuVee does break the chains. But it's feeling like that is the least of his worries at this stage. He's on the cusp of being Flame Horizon.
Does the lore establish who Joram is or what Joram is? Because at least Doran they kind of explain, but I don't really know who Joram is.
Maybe he's like the budget items guy.
But he has a very notable fist, apparently.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you know how you've got like multiple different like supermarket brands like Target and Walmart and stuff like that? Maybe Joram's like, he's the Walmart.
Which Aussie one would he be?
He'd be Coles.
Oh,
I'm a Woolworths man, you know?
You're so classy.
Yeah.
I was very surprised when I went overseas and Woolworths didn't actually have a supermarket part. It was actually just the outlet mall kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Not every country, but some countries.
Wow, I didn't know that. I thought Woolworths was just an Aussie thing.
Not Target, you're saying.
Target.
Very close.
Yes, very close. That's where I do all of my shopping.
Well,
I make sure that I'm up
the
and
Coles
fast.
fist here is not what he wants. He needs more than that. He definitely needs at least the ability to not be all in on the turret.
I can't believe Ruler's still got his Woolworths blade. I'm so happy. You can see like Ghost sold his.
Oh boy.
Sad.
Well, Summit's got real items. He's been going. There's no thrift shopping going on there. He's
No.
real
He's
powerful.
designer. He's designer only right here for this guy. He's going to land from Peanut. He's thinking about trying to go for some sort of play. His Ghost is going to go wide on the Chains of Corruption. Doesn't matter though. As SANDBOX are able to just get the pressure in there. Speaking of pressure, CuVee has to leave as Peanut's still looking for more.
But Summit's really deep.
Yeah, he's actually looking to try and go in here as the flash comes down from Peanut. We'll land that Q once again, but yeah, real deep is almost an understatement right now as they're just going to have to say goodbye to a lot of gold in that bounty, and Kuzan picks it all up.
There's a say your death moment. Summer got too greedy. Thought he was playing a 1v1, and given how this game had gone, he could understand it, but was too far gone. With no flash on the top side, GenG get 40 seconds of relatively serene normalcy, and yet, what can it realistically achieve? They're still very afraid of face-checking the Corki, face-checking even the Jarvan, so it doesn't even get them much Baron vision.
Well, in fact, SANDBOX still have 3 men around the area. They're going to be able to comfortably clear out vision. As Peanut might get knocked up here, Blade of the Rune King comes down, he's been slowed. We're looking for the piercing arrow, but it's not going to proc too much. Not enough blighted quiver stacks, and I don't think the W is available.
Pretty greedy. I mean, it's 5v4, so it feels weird to say greedy, but you definitely want your Braum back up when you go to war. We're going to watch the replay of how CuVee took a uncomfortable amount of damage. That was just a full rotation, almost straight up killing him.
Yep, infernally chained. Feels real
bad. But
bad.
at that point, the problem they have is that Ghost is out of Chain of Corruption range, so the moment that Peanut walks over, there's no chance that Summit can live.
And the direction that Summit went as well. I mean, he was committed into trying some sort of re-engage, but just wasn't going to happen there. Not sure what would have happened, but benefit of hindsight is, of course, there, and now SANDBOX are able to reset, and they still have a 6,000 gold lead. No harm, no foul.
And you know what's another no harm, no foul thing?
What's that?
Sometimes when we talk up brands or play down brands, I'm always like, no, hold on. Like, they might sponsor us. We've got no worries about Coles coming to Korea, so we're serene here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping I could pop down to me local Coles.
I'm just saying you can badmouth them and not worry about them sponsoring us.
But what if we do an event in Australia?
I hope it's not
sorry,
sponsored.
we can't have that Atlas guy.
I got it in my contract, no Coles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, you're going to get all those pre-prepared Woolworths lunches. The dream. Speaking of the dream, another chance of corruption comes down, but Peanut is going to go into stasis. They're going to try and focus him as Ghost grabs that kill. Ruler is put into the baby cage, but escapes with his flash. And now GenG have grouped. They're looking for the fight, but Cannon Barrage is going to deny anything, and SANDBOX are just going to disengage. It's top laner traded for the jungler.
And 1-for-1s are actually fine for GenG. They're on the red side. They can defend Baron really easily. The only thing that works against them is Infernal being up. Life putting up the door. Trying to hold the line here for GenG. They don't want to give away any free Infernal access, but right now it seems like they're choosing between two bad options.
Yep, Dove now. He was looking to just get some control around the area, but the Infernal Drake is now going to get started. OnFleek is already in this Dragon Pit. And as you can see, SANDBOX is trying to defend this one. This will be another 3 Infernals. Good lord. That's just 5 Drakes that are all great. Probably the perfect array of dragons that you can get. And then an Infernal.
Gonna watch the replay here. The kick from Peanut actually ended up being super high value because on the top side it keeps Corki out of the kind of AoE Wombo Fest in the mid. And even though Jarvan and Aatrox are way stronger than the reverse champions on the side of GenG, with Corki not there, health bar advantage through the Braum just being able to block damage is very straightforward for them. So it does mean the game rolls on to once again post 30 minutes with it not being fully decided. 5,000 gold lead to SANDBOX. The 3 Infernals means a way bigger lead for SANDBOX because of the efficiency of those items, and yet Sivir starts adding extra BF sword items. A Banshee Veil is done. There's still a perfect fight if Kuzan can initiate.
Oh, absolutely. And you can never count out Ruler in the late game as he does use the On the Hunt. They're in trouble, though. A SANDBOX may have found their fight. Chains of Corruption once again is going to land as the Braum is just picked off and destroyed. GenG, blink and you'll miss it in a lot of these fights. They just lose members so fast.
Frontline difference there. Jarvan able to tank it out. Peanut looking to stop the back, and OnFleek will have to be a little bit more honest about his push.
Yeah.
Life goes down. He's going to be out of the fight for a long time. No Unsealed Spellbook, Teleport, or Abyssal Voyages for this Braum. SANDBOX, it's on the menu. Start up this Baron. Here we go.
Yep, double Mountain Drake, triple Infernal. SANDBOX just want to continue fighting. And it's a 4 versus 5. GenG desperation mode right here as OnFleek's going to be able to help take it down. It's in fact the Varus that locks it up as Ruler. He's on vision. CuVee also though. Steric's Gauge is going to be in there. But damn, even the Coles item upgrades aren't enough.
Honestly, GenG's defense was a very practiced 4v5, try to stop Baron, but it doesn't work against 3 Infernals and 2 Mountains way faster than they're ready for. Gonna watch the replay, and this time the Corki is fighting around the area that the Cataclysm set up in the middle of the fight. Someone had to die, ended up being life. And then the Baron speed meant that GenG's defense on paper was good, but ended up being too late because triple Infernal, double Mountain, goodbye to the Purple Worm.
Well, gonna have a look at some of these AD numbers as well. I mean, almost 500 for Summit, who's just going to chase after Kuzan. We've already had the Abyssal Voyage into the backline. This is over. Dove dead before his Sand Soldiers even came out from the grave. They're trying to sweep the floor, but there's no trash here anymore, Papa Smithy. This is some really strong members of SANDBOX augmented by so many dragons.
Even though GenG did their chores, they're not going to get to play Nintendo today. They're done. It feels like SANDBOX Gaming should close at 2-0 on this push.
Yeah, it's unfortunate after game number 1 was so back and forth. This one felt like it has been concluded for a little while. A much better performance as OnFleek dives on top of the backline once again. The team fights are still good as they were trying desperately to find anything, but Life, he's going to go down as well. Summit has been the tail of this game. The Aatrox getting too big too early. The Nexus will follow suit from game 1. And another triple Infernal, another win for SANDBOX.
SANDBOX Gaming in game number 2 get over the line. They seem to just be trying to play to GenG's tendencies, and on the day were able to 2-0. Top lane difference here was pretty big. They had some good plans around the Aatrox. He just felt so far ahead so early. The time when we saw 2.5 items to just a Trinity Force and a Prayer kind of let you know that there was some big problems there, because GP wasn't a front line, he wasn't a damage threat, he just wasn't really playing the same game the SANDBOX were playing. So in the end, the 2-0 victory does, on the one hand, need to be caveated because game 1 was a bit of a fiesta on the SANDBOX side, but a lot more solid in game number 2, and that does mean they extend that lead. At the top of the table, they're the first to 6-1.
Yep, so they are officially in first place, but maybe not for too much longer, as Griffin will be playing in our next series up against Jinair, who are locked in to last place in the league once again.
It just felt like in this game, those spots where it could be 3 winning lanes for SANDBOX came early, like we expected, need those items. The items came in, and then GenG just kind of rolled over, unfortunately. It was very, very defensive for them. They didn't really have the impetus to go in. The first kill involvement was that catch on Summit under an inhibitor turret and killing him through Guardian Angel at 23+ minutes.
Yeah.
Lets you know that these Lee Sin approaches, it's not just a Peanut problem. It's a GenG with Lee Sin problem. If they're not playing level 6 junglers and they fall behind, so often their jungler has nothing to work with in the lanes. His lanes were Azir, they were Gangplank top lane, and in the bot lane there wasn't a lot of get up and go either, so it's definitely a multi-layered problem, but it's a familiar one, and it's one that GenG need to grapple with if they are realistically going to make a push towards playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like GenG fans are going to be sad, but not necessarily surprised with how this one went. However, I do want to go back to that top lane point like you were talking about, because CuVee actually played exactly the same matchup, but into Keen, and had a much better time. So just demonstrating just how good Summit is on the Aatrox. An amazing performance from that top laner from SANDBOX's side. Ghost had the Callista build on Varus, which I thought was quite curious. And seemed to work out. Look, he had a heck of a lot of lifesteal, kept himself alive for a very long time.
That build is usually super bold against GP because you have to respect barrels, and thus you can't just walk up and hoover damage in an AoE. And yet, he was fine because the GP was so far behind. So I think for the scenario...
Tahm Kench existed.
Yep, Tahm Kench there for safety. I think given the scenario of GP behind, Tahm Kench in the pocket, absolutely fine choice. From Ghost to continues to look very, very much LCK standard. Has had his struggles in previous years, but he is not the win-loss player for SANDBOX Gaming. He is going to be just another reliable hand. Congratulations to SANDBOX Gaming. They deserve the 2-0. But for GenG, it's a very quick kind of bring back to reality moment.
Yeah, it's a
after
crash
what was
down,
their ecstasy, right? So the 2-0 of FLICKR, 0-2 SANDBOX is kind of a quizzical one. It feels like a CLG thing where you're like, what does this mean?
Yeah, and I feel like GenG fans will be in a little bit of emotional turmoil after that one. And of course, LOL Park is full of them at the moment, so maybe some tears in the audience at this stage. However, it's not time for that just yet. We're not even through the first round robin.
Nope.
And there's still a lot more time for GenG to change things up, as we do have highlights on the way.
I think the schedule's SKT and also another toughie, right? I believe they still haven't played Griffin yet.
Still haven't played Griffin. That's going to be
We're going to see them in our second series in another matchup. They're kind of set up to be in a great spot. So let's go jump to the highlights here. Seeing GenG and SANDBOX, a much more active game two, which was welcomed. Obviously, game one was in action. Summit, the moment he got that clip on Ruler, you just felt like this was going to be the game where things fell into place for SANDBOX, where game number one, they were a bit haphazard.
I'm really glad you mentioned, Summit's play as well, just baiting that gank in. We're going to have a look at this one. This was exactly the GenG game plan working out. So at least we had a demonstration of what they were supposed to do.
But this was the SANDBOX game, and unfortunately the Peanut Lee Sin game plan where let's go for the turret dive, Peanut's bot side, he won't be able to get anything, we're going to have no counter gank and take it. Looking over to team fights. The amount of calculated burst that came in here was actually super impressive from SANDBOX, so that's a calculation that every team can get smites on, apparently. And just over the course, I think the difference between jungle and top lane duo to be frontliners was the biggest difference between SANDBOX and GenG as the game kind of closed out.
Yeah, just huge. As once again, Joker getting these flashes out of Emperor's Divides almost every single time. Wasn't enough to save his life right there, but did buy the team a lot of time. Big shout out to Joker. I wouldn't mind if he got a double MVP, but I have a feeling that this one belongs to someone.
Is a perennial winner on the side of SANDBOX by the end. Triple Infernal, Baron, Aatrox pressing R, and before it hit anyone, 619 AD.
Yeah.
It was definitely like a large lump of coal to the face of some of the members of GenG.
Hopefully they get more than that for Christmas, but at the moment, not earning it at this particular stage. It was SANDBOX just playing better, and I love that they had so many whoopsies in game number one. There were so many fumbles with how they played it out, and then they tidied it up so well in a lot of these late game fights.
And it's important for contender teams to do that, because if you have two games like game one, you come away just having no confidence in the team. Like, yes,
yeah, and also we don't learn anything, right?
But the fact that they can put out this more SANDBOX tier performance in game number two does give you a bit less pause to rank them in that top clump, because we do kind of group Griffin as a one just because they've been so dominant recently, but any down performance from Griffin, and then we kind of have 5 teams around the same edge.
Yeah. It's feeling like the top of the standings are not necessarily a big surprise if you had a look in the middle of the spring season, but also quite surprising based on the very end of the season, with some outliers there. As SANDBOX here, it was all about tidying things up, and we might get a little bit of translation from G-Sun, but she is going to be standing by for the MVP interview as we're going to check out exactly who's going to pick up that prestigious MVP in a very short moment.
I believe there was a nicer somewhere in there.
Yes.
I could be wrong.
Can confirm.
My Korean still needs work, and this is the sort of goal graph you want as a SANDBOX coach against GenG. Trending upwards, yes, in a perfect world you blow them out, but you kind of know what GenG's going to do, and if you do your side right, I think more often than not you pick up the victory, because GenG very often are hoping for inaction and then ready to pounce if they smell something.
Yeah, I like the controlled action, though, that SANDBOX demonstrated this game, because I feel like if you just scale up alongside GenG, it isn't a thing that happens, as a lot of those damage stats left a lot to be desired. And Lee Sin doing 4,000 damage is a bit of an LCK meme at the moment, it feels like. I mean, even a lot of our more aggressive Lee Sins haven't been able to get the work done on that particular.
I think we just have to keep calling out. If we see the Lee Sin from GenG, we give a little bit of history and we focus on the inaction of the recent games until things change. Until things change, Summit is definitely one of our best top laners. This part here, that was a sweet spot.
Oh yeah. The absolute dream, and then getting the flash, landing the second part of the Q, as this just walking off screen, the perfect distance.
Great baiting coming through from Summit, and look at this, he joins Dread at the top of the table. One more match played. FLICKR have had their debut in week number 4. But who will be your MVP going into the Rift Rivals break?
That is
one
a good
of the
point.
Fun sub-stories to look at. Dread's got 2 games this week, but some tricky opposition. That a FLICKR Damwon game tomorrow. At minimum, should be the antithesis of this game. I'm hoping for constant brawling.
Yeah, we are very close to the MVP interview. A little bit of a shame that SANDBOX didn't manage to get towards Rift Rivals, but here's G-Sun for some interview translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is G-Sun with the Universe Translation, and we're going to be hearing from Summit Joker from SANDBOX, picking up their 5th consecutive victory. So game number 1, GenG went with Tom Kensona, so we were a little bit surprised, but our team was able to do great team fights in the mid games. So it was a bit of a risky game, but we were able to pick up the win. Joker, as a 29-year-old player, how was your performance today? During practice, my reaction is really good. I always kind of show a great reaction today, competitive game as well. So today was a very good game for me. So Summit, you were going up against GP for 2 games in a row. Well, CuVee, his champion pool is about GP or Narc Cannon, so I knew about the top lane matchups, so I was able to kind of execute some of the plays that I planned in advance. So how did you prepare for today's draft overall? Well, we just kind of tried to counter some of their opponent's champions and some good matchups and stuff like that. Nothing's really special. The Joker, your Lux is on 3-0 currently in Summer Split. However, Sona was able to pick up items very easily in early phase. So how did you kind of cope with the situation? Well, I was quite worried about getting melted by Sona, so that was the focal point of my item build. So we tried to have a lot of team fights here, the objectives. So during the process, we are a little bit shaky, but all the other teammates were focusing so hard in game, so we were able to kind of get the win. And SANDBOX, your dragon was like fantastic. Triple Inferno in both games. Especially in game number 1, you stole the first Inferno Drake. So how did you calculate that? So let's go check the replay first. So over here, one of our players got picked up, so we weren't able to go near the Drake. But I used to play as a jungle player, so I was keeping my eyes on the Dragon HP, and I saw their skill cooldowns of the GenG players, so I was kind of wishing the jungler to be less alert of my skill shots, so I was able to kind of pick up the dragon over there. What did the players say when you said the players that you got the dragon? I mean, Triple Inferno is really significant, so I was expecting a lot from them, but they were like indifferent. So I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I was a little bit sad. Summit, moving on to game number 2. You were doing a lot of work in top lane with OnFleek, but we heard OnFleek saying I'm sorry to the players after game. Did he? So how did the game go in game number 2? Did you want to pressure GP top lane? I mean, GenG is the team that never really pays attention or invests to the top lane, so some of the plays we were able to kind of snowball very easily. However, in the mid game, you guys are a little bit too excited, I guess. Yeah, but that's the reason why I died in the middle of the game.
후반으로 갈수록 마음을 다시 다 잡고 정말 멋진 경기 만들어 주셨습니다. 자, 샌드박스가
So SANDBOX, you guys are on a 5 games winning streak, and you'll be going up against GenG.
선수 먼저 들어볼게요.
Are you gonna make it to 6 games winning streak? We are on a great momentum right now, so we're gonna do our best to take down GenG as well.
어느 때보다 믿음직한 서무 선수의 대답이었습니다. 자, 그리고 조커 선수도
Joker, would you like to say anything for your fans?
항상 응원해 와주시는 분들 너무 감사드리고.
Thank you for showing up to the arena and support us. Sometimes our performance is not consistent, so I'm gonna make it to stable and consistent, and we're gonna make it to a strong summer sandbox for the fans.
사랑이 필요한 조커 선수. 그리고 멋진 활약 보여주고 계신 서밋 선수.
This will be the end of the interview with Joker Summit from SANDBOX Gaming.
인터뷰 감사합니다.
Thank you very much for this interview. I'm gonna pass it back to
조커
our
선수,
casters.
서밋 선수
Thank you.
함께했습니다.
Thank you so much, G-Sun, for your interview translation. As usual, great to hear from those guys. And Joker just saying, yeah, used to be a jungler, all calculated. Had his eye on the abilities, yep, knew exactly when to press that button.
He just really wanted to take credit for that chance steal.
Yeah.
Remember that SANDBOX is going to be a bit fleeting in future because they play once more this week and then they're done till after Rift Rivals. They were the fifth place team after the wildcard match. So because they lost to Damwon in, SANDBOX out. So a little bit sad. If you want the 4 strongest teams going to Rift Rivals, very hard to justify that that's what's going to happen. But SANDBOX Gaming do open a lead at the top of the table. Griffin can overtake them with a 2-0, and they do face the currently 0-6 GenG in our second match of the day in unbelievable form. They have been body slamming enemy teams. Only SKT's first game was any degree of extended. Every other Griffin victory has been pretty summarily dismissed, so we're going to have to see GenG pull out something special even to make it competitive.
And this is an incredible week for GenG as well because they face Griffin and SANDBOX. That is a real rough one. What is also rough, guys, is the fact that we're going to have to leave you for so long. It was a 2-0, but thankfully some lengthier games. So it's not going to be too long, and you'll be back with us for GenG versus Griffin.
Come on, you got to say it. I'll give you another line read. Try again.
All right. We're going to be back for Griffin versus GenG. We'll see exactly whether the wings are going to fly or whether they're going to be summarily plucked.
G-Sun, use the second take on that one. The second take was better than the first one. You nailed the second one.
You're still live. You're still live. My feelings.
I've never cared about those at all.
Oh, that's a good point. That's all right. And I've got a long time to repair them.
You do. 1 hour.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you back in about an hour, guys.
You take me higher when I feel low. Make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, but with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. With you I'm a savage. Make my sorrow silly. 'Cause with you I'm feeling feather light. Like a feather, like the wind. You taught me loving without all the bling. You're all I need. I'm feeling feather light.
swung